Hello, Fiber friends. It's Michelle, and I'm back with episode 2 of Stashdown. I just have been thinking about doing this again since I posted the first video, and really not knowing exactly where I'm going to go with this, but I'm going to try really hard to not make it an hour and 7 minutes. It is like boiling hot here in Madison, Wisconsin today, and I'm trying to keep cool all the way. I'm up on the second floor. It's probably cooler downstairs. So I apologize again for the background sound. That's the ceiling fan, and that was on the other day as well. When I listened to the playback, I realized how there was that noise in the background, which was distracting. So I made a note to not do that again, but it is so hot today that I have to have that fan going in here. It is just ridiculously hot. So please forgive the fan noise that you can hear. That humming in the background is the fan. I spent this morning at one of my favorite local haunts, green light. Watch the green light. That's where the person watching is. Hi, you're in the green light. I spent the morning at one of my two most favorite knitting haunts in this area, the Sauzier in Verona. I started a fiber group with some of my friends from the Grease cast that are fiber artists of whatever kind. It's not a knitting group, it's a fiber arts group, we're calling it. So some of us knit, some of us crochet, some of us do cross stitch, and really anybody that wants to join us just to get together, because we all just were such a tight-knit cast, can just come hang out, because it's also a cafe. So chatting with the rest of us is also welcome, just because we all love to get together and do things like that. So we are calling it the Rydell Ringtails Fiber Club, and this is our second meetup that we've done. So we had a lot of fun this morning with some of my friends from the cast. So hopefully we'll grow that, and there'll be more people that join us eventually. Everybody that's come so far has been really enthusiastic about it, and it's just really another great opportunity just to hang out with the wonderful people that I met through doing that show. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, did that today, and then I just felt like, why not? It's Saturday. We don't have plans later. We do have to get some stuff done around the house. Some of the hopefully the last of the. It's not really unpacking. Now we're just kind of relocating stuff that we could take up to the attic to store, that we're not going to be getting into frequently, now that the attic has been insulated and it's, kind of hopefully temperature stable up there, and definitely critter free. So I haven't been up there in the last few days since it's been a little warmer again, and today would be the true test of whether or not it actually still gets quite hot up there, or whether the good chunk of the budget for doing some upgrading and updating and renovating of the house when we moved in pays off, and it should be at least a little more temperature stable. Prior to that work being done, we wouldn't have been able to go up there at all today, because it would have just been ungodly hot, probably well over 100 degrees, because it's like 92 outside right now with like 2,000% humidity, so very hot. Anyway, I thought, yeah, I'm gonna do some work in a little bit, but I'm just gonna take it easy today. I thought, just pop back on the camera. I had a lot of fun. And I just want to I think I have 7 subscribers already, and I'm sure that I know at least who 5 of them are, family and friends. So thank you for subscribing. Talk it up. I haven't, other than a few people, like my kids, Tom, I really haven't talked to many people about it yet. I told a good friend of mine in my knitting group that knew that I was planning to do this. She's known for a while that I was thinking about doing it, so I told her about it just because I know that she likes to watch podcasts like this. So hi, Teresa, thank you for checking it out for me and giving me some feedback. Good feedback so far, but again, it's coming from family and friends, and I love you. But I'm just curious. My daughter commented and it just made my day because, you know, trying to make it sound like she makes mistakes in her cross stitch. Great. So you cover it up really well. It's beautiful. One day I should have you on the podcast and we can chit chat together. We kind of always talked about, the three of us, doing a podcast where we just like talked about, I don't know what we were going to talk about, movies and musicals and just kind of like talking about them. And we would talk about stuff like that in the car on road trips and stuff and just crack each other up because we would just like, we talk about whatever the topic was that we had, you know, mutual like in common, and just crack each other up and be like, this should be a podcast. So I should have you on here, Emma, and you can show off your Pokemon cross stitch. So that's an idea for another episode. Has nothing to do with stashing down, but you know, I thought a little bit about that too this week. You know, I started off immediately talking about how we're going to be celebrating the stash, but the title is Stashdown. But I said, you know, there's not gonna be any judgment, and I know myself, I'm going to, you know, not only stash down from here on out. I still like I think it's a catchy title for this, so I'm going to keep it that way. I do aspire to shop my stuff. Why the heck am I buying this stuff if I'm not doing it right? I buy what I love, and I buy what I'm inspired to buy by seeing patterns and stuff out in the wild, and on Instagram is a big place where I see stuff. It just, you know, other knitter friends of mine in the community that are working on something. You know, there's always stuff like pressed flowers and, oh gosh, that's a big one that you see all over the place. That's beautiful. And I have actually 2 shawls going. One's quite a bit further along than the other, but yeah, I mean, there's popular things that we all decide, like a lot of the shift cowl and the night shift shawl are 2 that I have other projects either in play or yarn to do, because it's a really great fun project. Those shawls, Andrew Mowry's shift series, I never get tired of seeing those in the wild. Like, you know what, when you see it, you know that what it is. And just seeing people's color choices. I don't think I've ever seen a shift cowl or a night shift shawl and been like, well, I wouldn't have done that. Because yeah, it's just, they turn out beautiful no matter what your palette is, and they just are stunning. So yeah, anyway, this is one of those edit things. I have some news. My daughter's boyfriend Carter. Hi Carter, I know you subscribe, thank you. And your brother, hello Anderson, I know you're another subscriber, thank you. Nothing whatsoever to do with knitting in their lives, but you know, they're following along. And thank you, Carter, for your feedback on the podcast. That was really lovely, and thank you for offering to help me edit. What was I thinking that I, you know, might not ask you about some tips and tricks and things like that. So between you and Emma, maybe I can edit out some of these ridiculous lapses in what I was going to say, what I had been talking about. You know, you're gonna have to put up with the menopause brain sometimes, because I will literally forget what it is that I'm talking about midstream. I just get caught up in what I'm talking about, and what I was doing just back then was I was picturing the night shift shawl in my head, and then the train of thought just was like, the night shift shawl, and then it went away. So anyway, I'm like I said before, like I am the least tech savvy person that you will ever meet. I might as well live in a shack in the middle of the woods. For all I am tech savvy, not. It's like, I'm surprised I can do the work that I do, honestly. It's pretty basic, and I have to go asking people at work all the time about stuff, and it's when it gets a little beyond my very basic use of computer knowledge. So editing is definitely not something I've ever done, but there's something about it that seems interesting and fun. So yeah, if I have some resources and some folks who can show me some tricks, maybe it's something that would end up being actually fun to do. From what I hear, it's not. I don't know. But I do like to talk, so. It's one of those days where you just feel like the moisture in your body is just completely like drawn out just by sitting in a chair. It's like one of those days. So thank you for everybody who has watched so far. I think there's like, I don't know, 19 or 20 views, and 3 or 4 of them are probably me just checking things out and starting the video, and it counts as a view. So I'm nervous about, I think I'll probably today just get on Instagram and give myself a shout out. I've got a lot of people on my Instagram list that are knitting friends and knitting related people, so more of those people than other folks that are I'm friends with on Instagram would be interested. But what I'm afraid of is people thinking that they're friends and so they need to check it out, but they don't have any idea. They don't knit or whatever, they don't care about that, and I don't know. YouTube podcaster rookie, imposter syndrome situation going on, but it is fun. And green dot, you're right here. I'm sorry, I keep drifting over here and not talking to you, but I am talking to you. Yeah, so good feedback so far. Tell me what you think if you're not a personal friend or family member of mine. I know it's an fest, but again, it's supposed to just be kind of hanging and chatting. And I do know from myself and my friends who watch knitting podcasts, I don't know if it's a thing for people who do other things, other hobbies and stuff. If they just like, actually I know gamers like to watch other gamers play games. I don't understand this, but my kids, I don't understand this. Like, I remember one time when I first got a Switch, which I rarely play, but I first had gotten it. My son and I were playing one of the newer Marios, and I've never been a gamer. I would, sometimes when we would play, like, I'll play, if everybody's kind of playing a game, I'll sometimes play. One thing I suck at and I won't play is Mario Kart. I know this has nothing to do with yarn or fiber, but I'll get back. I'll come around full circle. As long as I remember my train of thought. I'm gonna blame the heat today. I guess I just need to keep hydrating. Maybe my brain cells will cooperate with me. But anyway, I was sitting there playing this game, and we'd been playing for, I don't know, at least an hour, and I was like, and it wasn't a multiplayer game. And I'm looking at my son, and I'm like, because he's into it, like he's watching me and he's helping me, but he was like, above all, he was into it, and I'm like, do you want to, like, don't you want to play a little? No, it's good, you could play. And I'm like, you've been sitting here, you're just like, it's like, no, I like to watch other people play video games. It's fine, no, I'm enjoying watching it. I'm like, there's no plot, there's no, like, I keep messing up, I keep having to go back over the same things because I'm not that good at this. I'm like learning the hand-eye coordination. So I know that gamers like to watch other people game on YouTube and stuff. So maybe knitters aren't the only people who like to just watch other knitters talk about knitting and talk about yarn and talk about fiber, and other spinners talk about those things. And I mean, I know that, like I said, I like to watch my go-tos. I'm gonna shout out my go-tos. I hadn't, my girl, Andrea, that's the podcast that I watch religiously every Friday. Like, I look forward to Friday. I wake up in the morning. I know there's gonna be another episode. I get to listen to her, hear her wisdom as she's answering questions. And she's just a ray of sunshine in human form. And yeah, I really enjoy watching hers. In fact, a lot of times when I'm cleaning the house or cooking or doing, you know, when I was packing when we moved, or if I'm just sitting knitting, often I'll just like turn on her channel and like hit the little one that just like continues to like a playlist of her podcast, and I'll just usually like random it so I can pick an older one, and then they'll just cycle through whichever random ones and just listen. And a lot of times I gotta be honest, I'm not listening to the advice or I mean, I'll tune in every once in a while, but I just listen to her voice and I knit, and sometimes I just kind of tune out, but she's like my comfort podcast. So, and hers aren't always really very long. Like I always check, like that's always the first thing that I do every week is I tap to see how many minutes it is. And if it's like, sometimes it'll be like 40-45 minutes. Like, I don't know, she just kind of kept on going. I didn't realize she was filming it longer than normal, and I'll be like, yes, it's a longer one today, that's good. You know, every once in a while it'll be sort of shorter. It's like shorter than a half an hour. They're usually like a half an hour-ish, and that's, you know, it's nice, but, you know, if she wanted to talk for 2 hours, I just sit there and listen to her talk for 2 hours. Because I do, you know, I mean, I just keep listening to the podcast. I just let them play, so it could be one long one and I wouldn't care. But yeah, if it's like 25 minutes or something, I'm like, oh, it's a short one today. But then my other go-to, and she is also, Sarah, you are also a Madison person, is Black Sheep Knitter. And my friend Teresa, who I already mentioned, is one who turned me on to Sarah's podcast, and I just love her personality, her delivery. She's funny, and she's like my first podcast, where they're usually over an hour long, and I'm there for it. You know, if I'm turning on something like a podcast just to listen to something that is, you know, in tune with what, you know, because she's another knitter, then I'm not looking for a 5-minute podcast. That's like, well, I haven't even picked up my stuff and gotten my yarn entangled by that point in time. Like, I need to have something to listen to. You know, I'm sitting here to knit for a while. I'm not sitting here to knit for 15 minutes. I'm usually sitting to knit for a while, so I want something to listen to. Yeah, so those are my inspirations. Just chatting. Now, of course, Andrea has the formula where it's listener questions and stuff, and she's a very good instructor and has like seemingly infinite knowledge about knitting and spinning and the things that she talks about. And that's, you know, like I said, not why I'm here. I'm not a teacher. I mean, if people had questions, you know, I would answer, but there's many more places to go on YouTube to actually get information about technique and things like that. I'm just really here to be another, like I said, knit pal to listen to ramble about yarn, about their yarn life. So I think it's interesting and cool that there's at least 2 people I know who are subscribing, who just tune in just to hear my shenanigans, I guess. Yeah, so speaking of editing, I was listening to it today again, just to kind of see. Yeah, like I listened to it the first time just to see, before I posted it, just to go, okay, yeah. I mean, I wasn't gonna not like listen to it first before I put it out there, and just trust that it didn't sound ridiculous. But you know, I in real life, and I have a filter that's, you know, I can tighten it down a little bit in certain situations in mixed company, but I swear like a sailor in real life. But I'm trying to not on this podcast. And I think I dropped an F-bomb. I'm listening to it and I'm driving this morning to the South, and I was like, I had to like before I went in, like play it back and watch my lips, and I still couldn't tell, because I thought I said frickin', because I said that a few times. That's, you know, the typical go-to F-bomb substitute when you're trying to be clean. I don't know. It even looked like I actually dropped an F-bomb. I'm gonna go back and look at it again, because I was just like, I did not mean to, like, it, if it popped out and I didn't catch it immediately, because normally in this situation, like if I had to suddenly, like in the next sentence or two, just drop an F-bomb, I'd be like, I said that I was filming and I dropped an F-bomb, and I didn't. So I think at least in my head, I thought I covered that. So I apologize. This is not the place for an F-bomb. I mean, I would really have to be fired up about something, like mad. And that's not what the energy needs to be in this podcast. Except in my head, I keep saying, look at the effing green dot, because stop looking at yourself. You can look at yourself later. It's not about you. It's about you. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, so maybe some editing. Otherwise, I'm gonna sit here and riff. I do want to get back to that idea that I had. I think it would be Emma. We're gonna have to figure out a time when we can film this together and chit chat. But what made my day in your comment, Sweetie Pie, was, I don't know why I called you Sweetie Pie. I don't think I've ever called you Sweetie Pie. My beautiful girl, is that you actually said that you might sometime get back to knitting. And I made that whole big deal about my ingrateful children and that I don't have either one of my children. I have not been able to engage in knitting or anything with fiber or yarn. And you made my day. Just the thought that you're interested in maybe getting back to that someday and really getting into it. Gives me hope as a mother, as a knitter, and as the curator of this, I mean, really incredible potential inheritance. So thank you for that. I needed that little pump in my day. That was good. That was better than even that you probably are one of the likes and a subscriber and that you commented, because you were the only comment so far. So yeah, when I get the word out more, hopefully I'll get some more comments. That was the other thing. It's interesting because as soon as I uploaded it and I knew it was real and it was there, and I was like, it's on YouTube, I thought, what happens if I get any thumbs down or really trolly comments? Oh my God, what do I do? And I'm like, just calm down. You know, it's just a knitting podcast. So consider the source and move on. You're not that important. It's fine. It's gonna be okay. So, not a lot more to talk about. So this isn't gonna be a super long one. You know, sometimes I might just pop on here just because I get, you know, a little feel for popping on and to say hi. Hopefully we'll get some more comments, some things that some people want to, you know, chit chat about, you know, something they heard me say in the last episode or whatever, and they want to offer their comments or whatever, and then we can kind of build on those conversations. But today I just wanted to hop on and say hey. And again, thanks to the people who, you know, the 7 of you who have subscribed so far. I think that I'm just gonna go for it and put something out there on Insta and just say, if anybody's interested, I started a thing, and you know, it's knitting related. So if you're not into knitting, you know, don't just hop on there. It's fun. Or you know, if you want to see me yammering on, then fine. I'd really like to build this bigger than just my friend list, but I'll take all the subscribers I can get right now, because that's gonna bump me up, right? I think that's how it works. I'm still learning about how YouTube works. We'll see. You know, down the road when I have lots of followers and been doing this for a while, I'm gonna look back on these first 2 episodes and be like, you're so cute, Grasshopper. You're just a tiny baby bunny right now. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, I'm until we get some more people interested in some of the alongs, and until I'm done with the test knit that I'm working on, which is coming along. I started it a week ago, but it's bottom up. So it's turning out beautifully. I'm a little nervous it's gonna be big, but we'll see. I'm already planning when I block it that I'm just gonna try not to let it stretch at all, because if it does, it's gonna be ginormous, because it's singles in superwash merino, so the thing's gonna just stretch anyway and be super drapey, and then it looks already like it's gonna be really drapey and lots of pest bees. So we'll see, because it's otherwise beautiful. I'm really happy with my color choices. I just did it again. Like I took what I was talking about on a tangent. This should be called the Tangential Knitter. That's what we're going to change the podcast name to, from Stashdown to the Tangential Knitter. The menopausal tangential knitter. And we're just going to stream of consciousness talk about knitting and fiber and spinning and all that stuff. Sometimes there'll be continuity. Some days there just isn't going to be any. So, yeah. So the test knit has to happen first, and then an along anyway, which I think is going to be the languishing UFO along. That'll be the first one. We're all going to pick them from our stashes, and you know, we'll pick a time frame and we'll see what we can knock out. You know, it's like one languishing project down. That's an accomplishment. You know, when it languishes for a long time, getting it done is kind of a big deal. So, oh, the other thing that I actually, getting back to things, an idea that I did have, just you know, about stashes. So we give a lot of the glory to the yarn and to the fiber that are in our stashes, but tell me what else. I mean, we're here to have that in common, the yarn and the fiber, but what are your other, we were talking about vices last week, like who's your favorite, where do you get your yarn, what's your favorite, you know, like yarn that you can't resist, yarn that you have no power over for purchasing, or fiber dyers and things like that. And still feel free to answer that. And again, in the other episode, you know, let me know about how COVID treated you with the knitting, and if you were like me and had your stashes explode, and your, you know, just knitting in general explode. But you know, this time, like, what are your other, like, Achilles heels when it comes to your craft? For me, it's knitting bags. That's one of them. It's not just one. It's knitting bags. I have project bags out the wazoo. I love a project bag. A colorful, because I just love, like, colorful fabrics and stuff. And certain genres of print, like anything moon related, witchy, Halloween, spooky, I'm all over that. I have my favorite bag maker that I have no power over. Well, there are times when I can go, okay, but recently I just bought 2 bags in the fabric that she released, and that is the Fat Squirrel. I had the opportunity to meet her last year at Sheep Removal? Yes. She was here visiting my friend Emily again. Emily knows all the folks. And it was lovely to meet her, and I actually said to her, please stop making bags. I'm just kidding, don't stop making bags. Because I just, yeah, she has a release, and I'm just like, oh God, what? And speaking of Halloween, I don't know where she finds the fabric that she uses, but it's always this like fantastic like canvas type fabric, and they just make a lovely bag. Actually, this is one of her bags right here, and they always have this, they're just so well made and heavy duty, and oops, matching pull. I just love them, and this is a small one. Like, I love her big sweater and Aran size bags, but yeah, I have quite a few of those, and I have a couple more coming from her latest release, so I'm excited for that. So thank you for your beautiful bags, and please don't stop making them. I really was only kidding, and I just have to pace myself. I have to be responsible for my own actions, just like with my yarn and fiber, and I haven't reined that in yet. So bags, and then today, I didn't buy yarn. I really, I'm actually kind of cool with not buying yarn right now, because I have just had a little problem this spring with the spin cycle, as we talked about. But notions. So I love the little, just the little circles, the little colorful circles. And I have a whole bunch of them that I ordered, or bought when I was buying stuff when I would go to Knit Circus a lot. They had them, and I have a ton of them. Where the hell are all of they? Like, where'd they go? Maybe they're on projects that are in bags, probably. But I still feel like at one point I just kind of bought a bunch, and I can't find them. I don't know where the heck they are. So I got some more of these today, but there's only 60 in here, so they're gonna go fast. They're gonna end up on projects. And then I'm gonna go, where the heck are all those stitch markers? And then I love a Coco Knits knitting row counter, and I have a couple. But, you know, they're in project bags with projects. I'm probably not gonna be able to get this open because they tape the hell out of these. So anyway, oh, here we go. These are my favorite because they're magnetic and they lock. So I got myself another one today because they have one. And then what I'm doing right lately is I've been, since I've been working on a lot of things that start with like hats where you start with the brim, one needle, and then or like a sweater where it's like the neckline, and then you have to go from one size cord to another. And I use interchangeable needles. I've just been like stocking up on like the common sizes of cords, and Chagu is my go-to. Wait, if I do this, then it's gonna focus on that, right? I'll have to see this later. Could just be a whole bunch of blurry packages. Sorry about that. But just stocking up on some of the more common cord lengths. I recently broken a couple, the mini ones. If you use Chagu, and you know, I've broken a couple of the mini cords right at the lock, because they'll get kinked in a bag, and then that's all over with. It's, you know, a matter of 2 or 3 sitting in knitting sessions, and that thing just, the wire breaks. Of course, when you've got something like a sweater on it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, my needle is all free, and here's all these drop stitches. Fantastic. So anyway, I'm replacing a couple, but also just kind of, you know, being a polyamorous knitter, you know, you start using, you know, like trying to start another project and you don't have a cord that's long. That is a third world polyamorous knitter problem. A first world. Carter, help me edit, please. That is a first world crazy polyamorous knitter problem. To just be like, I need to start another project, but all of my other cords are on other projects. Like, then you don't need to start another project, woman. Finish what you're doing. Yeah, so I tend to stock up on needles, interchangeable needles, and cords. I have a good collection. And project bags and notions. You know, when you got project bags and you're just taking them places and you don't want to take all the things, you want to have like a little thing of notions in that project bag, but then you've got multiple project bags, so sometimes you need more than one pair of snips. You need lots of snips. You need lots of measuring tape, like little tape measures with a cute logo from a store or something on there. If you're watching this and it's not just because you know me, but you're in the boat, just tell me I'm not crazy. Tell me it's not a problem. That's just me, please. I need to know. I need to know. Okay, we are just over a half hour, and I don't need to just keep rambling. If you want to hear me rambling more, just, you know, replay episode 1. It's fine. It's just fine. So wherever you are, by the time I post this, it probably won't be as hot, although I think next week's gonna be hot too. Stay cool. Next week's supposed to be super rainy here. Stay dry, stay cool, stay hydrated, and just keep knitting and spinning and crocheting and doing all the fiber things. Keep it up and tell your friends, and I'm gonna post this endeavor, this adventure to Instagram. See what happens. So, no more fear. I'm doing it. And this is episode 2. So, all right. Thanks for watching. Till next episode.